Behold, on the night of the assassination, within minutes, they were present and managing this command control center.
Sergeant Hank Hernandez and Lieutenant Manny Pena were the two key officers in the polka dot dress inquiry. Hernandez boasted to Sandy Serrano about his polygraph work for government agencies.
I have been across to South America, to Vietnam, Europe, and I have administered tests. The last test that I administered was to the dictator in Caracas, Venezuela. He was a big man, a dictator. Pérez Jiménez was the last name. And this is when there was a transition in the government of Venezuela, and that's when President Betancourt came in, but this is all behind. But there was a great thing involved over there, and I tested this gentleman.
Hernandez denies ever having worked for the CIA. Paul Chiraga and other critics believe only federal security agencies carried out polygraph tests in such diverse and high-powered circles. Manny Pena was brought in to run the Robert Kennedy investigation from a Washington, D.C. organization, the Agency for International Development. 4 years later, a congressional committee would reveal that AID functioned as a front for the CIA. But why should anyone, let alone the anonymous CIA hierarchy, want Bobby Kennedy dead? What motive could it have had? From his days as Attorney General in the John Kennedy administration, Bobby had pursued policies and targeted opponents which directly threatened the CIA. His self-proclaimed crusade against organized crime had begun to highlight the long-standing links between organized crime bosses and CIA chiefs, a link exemplified by the joint Mafia-CIA assassination attempts on Fidel Castro. After the fiasco of the Bay of Pigs, he and John had publicly sworn to smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces and cast it to the wind. After his brother's assassination, Bobby's support for the student-based anti-Vietnam War movement categorized him in the minds of many Cold War warriors as a threat to national security.
One thing is clear in this year of 1968, and that is that the American people want no more Vietnam.
A lot of the people in the center and to the right in America did not appreciate that because he was raising problems they wanted to ignore.
I think that we have a structure in this country, and I refer to them as a corporate war machine, or you can refer to them as whatever you want. I believe that they did and will do anything that they need to or that they want to preserve their status quo.
That Cold War mentality flourished above all within the CIA and led to seemingly bizarre experimentation. From the end of World War II to the end of the 1960s, the CIA spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on brainwashing and mind control experiments. Their aim was to create a hypno-programmed robot assassin who would have no memory of his crimes. It was spelled out in this 1953 internal report on Project Artichoke.
Can an individual be made to perform an act of attempted assassination under the influence of Artichoke? As a trigger mechanism for a bigger project, it was proposed that an individual be induced under Artichoke to perform an act, involuntarily, of attempted assassination against a prominent politician, or, if necessary, against an American official.
And that's about 20% of the population can be regarded as highly hypnotizable. They can usually be programmed to do something that's somewhat against their grain.
Dr. Herbert Spiegel is one of America's leading experts on hypnoprogramming. He has studied the CIA's attempts to create a robot assassin.
If we get a highly hypnotizable person who is subject to the proper programming under controlled conditions and is subject to some degree of supervision and exposed to the target within a reasonable range, it is quite possible and even probable that he will comply with the program and end up not being fully aware of what he's doing.
By the mid-1950s, internal reports indicate the CIA had accomplished its self-appointed task. Morse Allen, head of the behavioral control program at Langley, Virginia, successfully hypno-programmed his secretary to shoot her best friend with an unloaded gun. Afterwards, she remembered nothing.
In general, there is a spontaneous amnesia for the stimulus and the program, sometimes if that's reinforced by the instructions of the programmer that you will not remember, the odds of the amnesia is even greater.
At his trial, psychologists testified that Sirhan was in a hypnotic trance throughout the assassination and suffered from a complete memory loss of the shooting.
I said to myself, Sirhan, you're going to die for this crime. God damn it, face up to it, at least admit it, make it worthwhile to your own self. And I tried and tried and tried, you know, to recollect it, to reenact it, but God damn it, nothing comes up.
Because the evidence of hypno-programming was not pursued, Sirhan's prison psychologist, Dr. Edward Simpson, described the trial as the psychiatric blunder of the century. He pleaded to be allowed to deprogram Sirhan.
But he told me that he was instructed by the warden that he was not to pursue this and not to examine Sirhan any further. And then he said that he insisted that he had the right to do this because he was the official psychologist for the prison, and shortly thereafter he was dismissed.
If the CIA's hypno-programmed robot assassin experiments sound the stuff of fiction, its own documents proved that it was possible, and that the agency had managed to create hypno-programmed killers by the time Sirhan fired at Bobby Kennedy. According to experts like Dr. Herbert Spiegel, this fantastic-sounding plot has been put into operation.
It in fact has happened, but the people who arranged this don't go around advertising that they do it or how they do it.
But there are always those who need to boast about their experience. William Bryan Jr. was for almost a decade retained by the US government as its leading hypno-programmer.
In criminal law, yes I am, I sure as hell am. You have to have the person locked up physically to have control over them. You have to use a certain amount of physical torture involved, and there is also the use of long-term hypnotic suggestion, probably drugs, whatever, and so on. Under these situations where you have all this going for you, like the prison camp and so on, yes, you can brainwash a person to do just about anything. What I'm speaking about are the innumerable instances that we ran into when I was running the country's brainwashing and anti-brainwashing programs.
Less than a year before his death in 1976, William Bryan Jr. allegedly confessed to 2 prostitutes that he was the man who hypno-programmed Sirhan Bishara Sirhan. It is more than 2 decades since Robert Francis Kennedy was assassinated. There are still many discrepancies in the official version. This murder is still shrouded in mystery. We asked Los Angeles police to comment on the evidence brought out in this film. This was their response.
After a thorough investigation by the detectives of the LAPD Homicide Division, the evidence was passed on to the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, who reviewed all material thoroughly. After said review, the subsequent court case resulted in Sirhan being found guilty.
The only true resolution of this case is to reopen it entirely.
We want truth. We want them to investigate cases in whatever manner is necessary to ascertain the truth, and they simply have not done so. They've destroyed evidence, they've altered evidence, they've coerced witnesses into retracting statement, and then they've done everything they could to keep all of this from coming out to the public.
Recently, a new bid, the second inside a year, was made to persuade the Los Angeles grand jury to reopen the investigation. For more than 20 years, the evidence has been suppressed and kept out of court. Don't you think it's about time we were told the truth?